future, compliance is the only law.
Welcome to the Carbon Limit Arena!
Agenda 2030 isn't a plan, it's a trap.
Freedom isn't a game unless you let them play it.
One man breaks the broadcast. The Running Man just rewrote the ending.
Well, they're not hiding it anymore. The UN just demanded global censorship powers. Australia confirms mandatory digital ID tied to every online action. Canada's rolling out programmable money that controls what you can buy. The World Economic Forum admits their plan will create deliberate shocks to society. What started as Agenda 21 blueprint is now Agenda 2030's operational phase. Everything the so-called conspiracy theorists warned about, it's starting to look awfully real. And it's accelerating faster than anyone predicted. This is actually happening, and it's happening right now. Everything you do online tracked, every dollar you spend programmed, every word you type monitored by AI. This is not dystopian fiction. It's being implemented right now. When the UN chief calls free speech a tsunami of conspiracy theories demanding immediate action, he's talking about silencing you asking questions. When Australia requires digital ID for all online presence, that's the end of autonomy forever. When Canada tests programmable currency, they control what you buy, where you go, and who you support. Or your carbon allowance, your meat ration, your travel quota, all enforced through digital systems already being deployed. Agenda 21 proposed it. Agenda 2030 enforces it. And they're using climate emergency as the excuse to rush implementation before people wake up. While global elites build digital prisons to track your every move, hackers already have your data. That Gmail breach exposed 183 million passwords, yours included. Identity thieves are draining accounts, destroying credit, ruining lives daily. But there is protection. Virtual Shield monitors the dark web for your leaked information, alerts you instantly when criminals try using it. $5 million in insurance if they strike. Expert support 24/7. Just like you need to protect your freedom from Agenda 2030, you need to protect your identity from cyber predators. And guess what? For $4.88 monthly, you can get your digital shield at virtualshield.com/nextnews before it's too late. It's linked down below. Now, the admissions overall, they're staggering. World Economic Forum, Sandra Dixon DeClave openly states their transition will be disruptive. It'll create shocks, will completely shake up food systems and energy grids. They're not predicting chaos, okay? They're planning it. Meanwhile, Soros money flows through AWeB, USAID, election systems, color revolutions. General Flynn exposing the network, NGOs, dark money, intelligence cutoffs, all pushing the same goal. Globalizing elections, standardizing control. The UN redefines their sustainable development goals as population control. GMO food, total surveillance, geoengineering, every warning becoming a reality. Every prediction getting ever closer to the truth. Here we have this, 24 hours ago, World Economic Forum, confirming the path to forced traceability of online presence to digital ID. There can be no doubt that Australia's government is not sovereign. Australia is now controlled by the UN World Economic Forum Agenda 2030. AI will monitor every single user.
Anonymity to anonymity on social media. In our countries, no one can walk the streets with a mask on their face or drive a car without a license plate. No one can send packages without showing an ID or buy a hunting weapon without giving their name. And yet, we are allowing people to roam freely on social networks without linking their profiles to a real identity. This paving the way for misinformation, hate speech, and cyber harassment, because it is facilitating the use of bots, and it is allowing people to act without being held accountable for their actions. Such an anomaly cannot continue. In a democracy, citizens have the right to privacy, not to anonymity or impunity, because with those two, social coexistence would be impossible. That is why I believe we must push forward the principle of pseudonymity as the functioning element of social media, and force all these platforms to link every user account to an European digital identity wallet. This way, citizens could use nicknames if they want, but in the case of a crime, public authorities would be able to connect those nicknames to real people and hold them responsible. Because accountability is not an obstacle to freedom of speech. It is an essential complement to it, to anonymity.
A complement to freedom of speech, he says. November 5th, Citizen Go post, "You will own nothing and be happy." That's what the WEF said years ago. And that's exactly what the UN Agenda 2030 is designed to deliver. Control disguised as progress. Wake up before it's too late. Here's a video from the World Economic Forum. 8 predictions for the world in 2030. Let's see. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Whatever you want, you'll rent. It'll be delivered by drone. This has got to be AI. The U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. A handful of countries will dominate. You won't die waiting for an organ donor. This can't be real. We won't transplant organs, we'll print new ones instead. You'll eat much less meat. An occasional treat, not a staple for the good of the environment for our health. 1 billion people will be displaced by climate change. We'll have to do a better job at welcoming and integrating refugees. Polluters will have to pay to emit carbon dioxide. There will be a global price on carbon. This will help make fossil fuels history. You could be preparing to go to Mars. Scientists will have worked out how to keep you healthy in space. The start of a journey to find alien life. Western values have been tested to the breaking point. This can't be real. Checks and balances underpin our democracies must not be forgotten. Is this a real video? I mean, anyway, this sounds like something satirical. You got to be kidding me. I mean, would they really? I guess. I mean, they're so brazen. This could totally be legit. I mean, there's a disclaimer at the bottom. It says, "This is." Let's see here, and it comes up in a second. Based on the input of, I just lost it. Based on the input of members of the World Economic Forum's Global Future Council. This is real. I mean, somebody making a fake video like this, I don't think they would go to lengths to put like such a disclaimer there. That's terrifying. Citizen Go, who are they? Global platform defending life, family, and freedom, active in 50 countries, 12 languages. Join our campaigns and make your voice heard. Yeah, I don't think they'd be posting some fake stuff, man. The entire UN 2030 agenda rests on one cornerstone, your voluntary adoption of digital ID. As Whitney Webb, Camus writes, as Whitney Webb powerfully argues, they're investing billions to sell you on its convenience. They'll pitch it as the solution to illegal migration, voter fraud, and cybercrime.
Without it, the programmable surveillable money won't work. A lot of their designs for what they want to do in the online virtual world will not work. And so much of it will not work if we do not comply with digital ID, and they're trying to force it on us as a voluntary thing. Sort of in the same way that vaccine passports were voluntary. Which is why I encourage people, if you want to change the direction the world is going, you need to figure out how you are going to set up your life so you don't have to comply with digital ID the same way. Maybe if you were forced to comply with vaccine mandates and vaccine passports, how will you get around those type of restrictions when they try and impose, digital ID on people for various reasons? As I said earlier, before it was about, the vaccine and all of that. Now in the U.S., conservatives mainly are being pitched as this is a solution to illegal migration. This is a solution to voter fraud and all of this stuff. There's efforts to frame biometric digital ID as essential to solving cybercrime and hacking and cyberbullying and any other normal of essentially any ill of society. They're just going to say digital ID is going to be the solution to that. And they're sales pitches. But ultimately, if we, the digital ID is essential to the whole idea of the social credit score and any of these other, Orwellian designs that, at least enough people I hope know by now, is part and parcel of this agenda. And I think, again, it comes up to people having to make a choice. And the way they do this is through, they try and get us to comply with this is through convenience. It's convenience to opt in. It's convenient to have a digital ID. It's convenient to have, money on your phone and have your whole life be based on your smartphone and all of this. It's convenient to vote once every 4 years for one of the two lesser evils in all of this. But really, it's the convenience that they're using to enslave us. And it's inconvenient to find ways to opt out of these systems and change your life so that you're more resilient and your life is actually sustainable for you and your family and your community. It's perhaps inconvenient to get off of the couch and off of the chair and go meet your neighbors physically and stop being on the online world so much and making real human connections and real human solutions to the problems we're facing. Because
She's on point right there. This guy, though, the UN chief, 72 hours ago, Jim Ferguson posting, UN chief demanding censorship crackdown. António Guterres is called for tighter control of social media, claiming false narratives threaten the UN's Agenda 2030 goals and global stability. False narratives. What, because we disagree with you? Because we point out what it is? Global totalitarian control? He condemned what he called a tsunami of conspiracy theories and demanded action against platforms that allow them to spread. Translation, the UN wants the power to decide what's true and silence whatever challenges its agenda. When unelected bureaucrats start policing speech in the name of safety, it's not protection. It's digital authoritarianism in disguise. Listen.
The spread of hatred and lies online is causing grave harm to our world. Misinformation, disinformation, and hate speech are fueling prejudice and violence, exacerbating divisions and conflicts, demonizing minorities, and compromising the integrity of elections. Threats to information integrity are not new, but they are proliferating and expanding with unprecedented speed on digital platforms and supercharged by AI technologies. Science, facts, human rights, public health, climate action are under attack. And when information integrity is targeted, so is democracy, which depends on a shared, fact-based perception of reality. False narratives, distortions, and lies breed cynicism, disbelief, and disengagement. They undermine social cohesion, putting the Sustainable Development Goals further out of reach. Opaque algorithms push people into information bubbles and reinforce prejudices, including racism, misogyny, and discrimination of all kinds. Women, refugees, migrants, and minorities are common targets. Lives are at stake when lies are spread about vaccines and other medical issues. The United Nations' own operations and missions are compromised as our staff deal with a tsunami of falsehoods and absurd conspiracy theories. We demand action. First, to the big tech companies, take responsibility.
Wow.
Acknowledge the damage your products are inflicting on people and communities, and you have the power to mitigate harm to people and societies around the world. You have the power to change business models that profit from disinformation and hate. The climate crisis is a cause of particular concern. Coordinated disinformation campaigns are seeking to undermine climate action. The spread of hatred.
That's from the UN, guys. Oh, but he must have forgot that Bill Gates just turned on the whole climate scam. Uh-huh. Canada, the test site for a global control grid. Jim Ferguson posting this. Who is Jim Ferguson? Apparently he follows me. Nice. Pushing back on globalist control Speech, Borders, Sovereignty, Founder, Freedom Train International, International Ambassador, Advance UK. Following the Next News Network, right on, man. Well, you're doing a hell of a job. He writes, Canada, the test site for a global control grid. The 3-minute trailer everybody needs to see. The truth about the UN Agenda 2030 is no longer hidden. Canada is the proving ground, he writes. This is not a theory. It's the blueprint for global technocracy in motion. Quote, the lust to control other human beings is as old as time. From the collapse of liberal democracy to the rise of centralized rule by unelected officials, the agenda is simple. Control every resource, control every citizen, control every choice. Their plan, replace money with programmable digital credits, transform energy and dictate how you use it, seize farmland and replace real food with pharma food, re-engineer economies through net zero and sustainability. Their justification? The climate crisis. But the film exposes how data manipulation and fear are being used to manufacture consent for a global control system. Experts warn once the digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity. At the center of it all, Mark Carney, a man who preaches global governance, controls financial levers, and waits for his majority government to finish the job. They call it sustainability, but it's really submission, economic, agricultural, digital, and human. And Canada is the model. The question is, will the rest of the world wake up before the model goes global? So this is the video, Jim Ferguson, a 3-minute trailer that everybody needs to see. Let's watch.
Potentially.
The lust to control other human beings is a story as old as time. There's a very strong drift in the direction of globalization, of the ultimate centralization of control in the hands of unelected officials at supranational organizations.
They want all of the resources of the world in their pocket.
The bigger picture is that an attempt is underway now to collapse liberal democracy and replace it with global technocracy.
This is a coup. They're saying we can control with rules. We don't need currency anymore.
It's like an inverted prison. You are supposedly free to roam about, but everything you want to access is behind lock and key.
The potential for social control is gigantic and potentially irreversible.
They plan to commandeer land, reduce farming, and radically change the food we eat, transform the supply of electricity, and then dictate how we use it, and replace currency with a system of credits. All three strategies are built on the premise of a climate crisis caused by carbon dioxide.
I do not think there's a climate crisis, and I base that on all the evidence and the climate data sets that we build to answer questions just like that. The government is very clear that they want a catastrophic story.
There is no single science paper that proves conclusively that humans control all or most of the global climate.
Europe's mad dash towards net zero is effectively economic suicide. Politicians are purposely impoverishing ordinary people, purposely deindustrializing Europe.
It's just a tremendous amount of damage in the name of saving the planet. It does make you ask, what is it we're actually saving if we're paving it over?
I think what we're dealing with here is actually a global war on agriculture.
When you look at how many farms are selling out, we're walking into food shortages.
If I can switch everybody from real food to pharma food, then 100% of the agriculture industry can go through my publicly traded stocks, and I have complete control.
This is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan.
All life on Earth is going to be radically changed.
Everything will be monitored. The environmental consequences of every human action.
The general population cannot fathom the psychopathy of the vision that they're facing.
Once the digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity.
The agenda. That's what's coming. Here's Sandrine Dixon DeCleve, top World Economic Forum expert and Club of Rome co-president, reveals the truth behind their agenda. Admits the plan will be disruptive, create shocks. A so-called giant leap is what they're calling it, to enforce the UN Agenda 2030 requires overhauling our entire food system, scrambling our reliable energy grids, forcing transition to clean power. Her chilling admission, we're talking about a complete shakeup. It will create shocks. This is the globalist blueprint for total control. They're engineering disruptive chaos to reshape our world. Listen.
Poverty ends. The second scenario is the giant leap. We wanted to identify a small set of actions, a minimum viable product, to reach as many sustainable development goals in Europe's vision of a social and green region. We wanted to take a systems approach to explore if we can achieve an acceptable level of well-being for the global majority on a finite planet. We conclude that nothing less than the following 5 extraordinary turnarounds are needed to have well-being for all while respecting planetary boundaries. Ending poverty, addressing gross inequality, achieving full gender equity, transforming the food system and the way we eat, transitioning to clean energy and efficient energy. We argue that these 5 extraordinary turnarounds and the set of economic reforms that will drive them form the basis of a well-being economy. It is not a blueprint, but more of a guide for systemic transformation. In this scenario, poverty ends a generation earlier than too little too late. We see gender empowerment in 1 generation, not 10. We see a switch to healthier plant-based diets. There is still meat consumption, but at sustainable levels. And we have carbon dioxide emissions every decade to reach net zero by 2050. The economic model everywhere is circular, regenerative, and efficient. Material consumption of unsustainable resources is reined in, fossil energy phased out, and we see a significant redistribution of wealth. In this scenario, we introduce a universal basic dividend operating like a universal basic income, with dividends coming to all people, sharing the wealth of the global commons and public goods. Who's taking the wealth now? It is not properly redistributed. This is not utopic. This is what is fair and just and what a society in transformation is all about. Why do we think this is important? We know the giant leap will be disruptive. We're talking about a complete shakeup. This is everything, everywhere, all at once. It will create shocks. But if it is to succeed, then we must bring the majority of people along the journey. The second scenario is the giant leap. We wanted to identify a small set of actions, a minimum.
They are saying it out loud with no shame, projecting their agenda on the global stage. The UN doesn't want to save the planet, it wants to run it. Agenda 2030 equals global rules and local obedience. Agenda 2030 incoming. Push back while you can. One world government, end of nations. One world army, one world police force, end of the family unit, one world central bank, one world cashless society, end of all private property, world depopulation, fertility control, end of home and car ownership, mandatory multiple vaccines yearly, universal austerity income, social media, digital ID, microchip for health, shopping, and travel, implementation of Chinese social credit system, government-raised children, all businesses run by the state, end of non-essential air travel, humans concentrated 15-minute zones, end of private farms and vegetable gardens, end of animal ownership, ban on all natural medicine, AI courts, and end of individual rights, limited access to wild spaces, end of fossil fuels, and modern conveniences. And of course, you'll be happy, won't you? You'll be happy. Zoran Mandami there, the new mayor-elect of New York City with Alex Soros. Yeah. It's already happening. It's happening right under our noses. People of New York just voted for it. Alex Soros with Obama. George Soros Open Society Foundation has donated approximately $37 million to the Working Families Party, among others, which supported and mobilized Zoran Mandami's campaign for the New York City mayor race. George Soros, dark money operations connected to taxpayer dollars, USAID, AWeB, election fraud, color revolutions, the plan to globalize the world. General Flynn breaks open the Soros, Russiagate, USAID, and corrupt NGO connection and how they're attempting to take it.
Soros, who's wandering around the world, we were able to prove how Soros, through this structured organization, spent $2.5 billion on our 2020 election. Soros is trying to globalize the world. Alex Soros, who's wandering around the world, paying people off to be globalists, right? All of this matters. What they're trying to do in Europe is they're trying to bog President Trump down. They are absolutely trying to tie him down. Again, they used the yoke of Russiagate in his first administration. They're going to use the yoke of the Ukrainian war in this administration.
Oftentimes I bring up George Soros and what he's done around the world. And yesterday, Donald Trump finally made it clear that he's very aware of George Soros and how he's played into not just what is going on in this country, but the world for the last several decades.
Ukraine is a money laundering operation for, frankly, the Central Intelligence Agency and elements of the government. It is a weapons trafficking. It is human trafficking. It is a drug smuggling arena. And I mean big time, because keep in mind, we've 2014 until we left Afghanistan, Afghanistan was the single largest producer of heroin in the world. Right. George Soros, we know for a fact that in his structure, Arabella Advisors, right? Arabella Advisors, which again, you're like the expert on it. But Arabella Advisors created a structure of NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and for-profit organizations, and they built it so seamless. And they used organizations like USAID. They use departments like the Department of State underneath the Obama administration, and clearly underneath the Biden administration.
The story we have gotten about Ukraine has been basically a fabrication of what has gone on over the last several years since the fall of the U.S.
So they call it sustainability. It's actually submission. Economic submission through programmable money. Agricultural submission through farmland seizure. Digital submission through mandatory ID. Human submission through social credit. As one warned, once digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity. Canada's the test lab. Australia's implementing. Europe's next. America's the final target. This is the system they've been building since 1992. And now they're flipping the switch. We're watching the birth of global technocracy in real time. When unelected UN bureaucrats demand censorship power, when Mark Carney waits for his chance to finish transforming Canada, when every prediction about Agenda 21 comes true through Agenda 2030, we are past the point of theory. It's operational. They're doing it right now in your face. And they're so confident, they're admitting it publicly. Climate crisis is the excuse. Control is the goal. Your freedom is the target. The infrastructure is being built while we argue about whether it's real. By the time enough people wake up, the digital walls will already be complete. So my question, will you accept digital ID when they make it mandatory for banking? Yes or no? Answer below. And get your next news gear while you still can, because under their system, supporting alternative media might lower your social credit score. So this is the fight of our lifetime.